What up? This is Rama Screen, and it's time for another celeb interview. And in the anticipation of Archenemy, which arrives in theaters and on demand and digital December 11th, I'm here talking with the writer director of this new movie, Adam Egypt Mortimer. How are you, Adam?
Hey, man, it is nice to be talking to you. How's it going?
Good, good, good. Thank you for taking the time. So, Adam, this is the story of a superhero named Max Fist from another dimension who fell through time and space to our planet where he no longer has his powers. How did you come up with the inspiration for this story? And how did you make it separate from the many, many other superhero movies in the world out there today?
Yeah, so I started working on this in 2015, and I was thinking about how, in comic books, because I love comics, I've never stopped reading comic books. In comics, superheroes are not a genre, they are like a mythology. And in comics, they can do all kinds of different genres and all kinds of different aesthetics and feelings, and they can deconstruct it and reconstruct it and do all of these things. And I was thinking that, okay, I think we're starting to get to the point with movies now where we got it. Like the average moviegoer understands what a superhero is. They understand what an origin story is. They understand how these characters can be cosmic and how we can have multiple dimensions. But we haven't yet explored, well, now that we've all got that, where can we go? Like what other kinds of movies can we make with these? And so part of what I was thinking about with Archenemy was, how do I treat the movie going public, the movie watching public, as sophisticated as comic books treat their readers. And so then, I had this idea. I just had this image of a guy in a tattered cape sitting at a bar drinking whiskey, telling people about how he was once a multidimensional superhero and now he's not, and nobody believes him, and then we don't even believe him. And I was thinking about the movie, Aronofsky's movie The Wrestler, and how it would be interesting to treat a superhero the way that movie treated a wrestler. And so it all came from those places, and then it took on a life of its own, and it became psychedelic, and it became a crime story, and it became very colorful and went in a lot of directions. But that was where I started thinking about things.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, because that's actually my next question, because I think you applied the same or similar style on your previous movie, Daniel Isn't Real. The emphasis on the neon drench, colors, lens flares a little bit as well, and there's a noir tone to it as well. Can you talk a bit about the reason behind that style?
Yeah, I'm really interested in style. I want, you're seeing a movie, I want it to be a kind of overwhelming experience, so much music and such a like atmosphere that, a vibe that really brings you into it. I think that's what I want to get out of, I want to see movies that feel a little bit like a dream, a little bit like I'm outside of my reality, even if it's about serious things or has tragedy in it. And I think the work that I've been trying to do as a filmmaker is to figure out, like, how can I have this style, but have it be not just eye candy, but like really, but come from what the story is really about, so that the immersiveness and the colors all connect to the emotional events and the things that the characters are going through, and what the themes are. And so I think that with Daniel Isn't Real, I really started to like think through that process and think through how, what is a style and where does the style come from? And okay, if this movie is supposed to feel like, if this part's supposed to feel isolating and it's about depression, what does that look like in a way that represents the feeling but is still interesting? And so then I carried on that kind of thinking for Archenemy, and the idea was to make something that the world would be bleak, right? We're in a real shitty part of a city, and it's like ruled by drug kingpins and drunks, and it's just like it's hard to survive, but the characters are so colorful within them, and like that, that like, how do we continue to survive? How do we have hope? How do we still have the desire to like break through and do our thing, even if the world is kind of gnarly? And so in thinking about that, conflict, those things, then you start to get color and style and excitement.
Now, when we think of Joe Manganiello, we often think of Magic Mike or Deathstroke. You know, clean cut, manly, macho, buff role. So to transform Joe into the character that we see on Arch Enemy, fully bearded, beaten down, drunk, and homeless, what was that transformation process like? And was Joe game for all of it?
He was so, I mean, he was the perfect guy for this because this is like exactly what he wanted to do. I think the thing that's so perfect about Joe is like he is, like you say, he is like literally the most handsome man on the planet. And he kind of looks like Superman. If he was like, "Hi, I'm Superman," you'd be like, "Okay, I believe you." Um, but he also, and he has all that physicality, but he also is like a really highly trained theatrical actor, and he's done Tennessee Williams and things like that, and so he was really excited for the opportunity of like how much can he kind of fall apart, how scruffy and gnarly can he be. And he was like, "Should I have my teeth pulled out?" And I was like, "I don't think you need to do that. I think we can achieve that with some effects." And like he was just so into that idea. But what comes across, I think, is like you can see how there's possibly a Superman inside of this gnarly guy, this tragic figure. And so, yeah, and he's super into comic books. Like the first minute we met, like we knew what we were trying to do. And he was suggesting, he got a guy to consult him on what it's like to be a meth addicted homeless person. He talked to a guy who's like a recovery specialist who himself used to be a homeless meth addict. And he sort of taught,
Wow.
like, here's what it was like when I was living on the streets. And here's what it's like when you take these drugs. And like, like he really wanted to commit to the world of it.
Nice. I want to ask you about the animation sequences in this film. What was the purpose of that, and who's the artist who did that animation?
The artist is named Sanando C. He goes by Sanando C because his last name is very long and complicated. He lives in Bangalore, so he goes by Sanando C. He's a guy that I had been working on a comic book with a couple of years ago that we haven't really developed out, but I knew that he would get this idea, which was very much inspired by Pink Floyd The Wall, which is a movie where there's these animated sequences that show you kind of the inside of a mind that's going mad, and they're very abstract. And I wanted to see like how much can we tell a kind of science fiction superhero story in a way that would feel abstract or increasingly abstract or dreamlike, and have that kind of, is it a memory or is it a fantasy, or even if it is a memory, is it changing as we go? I think there had been a lot of different ideas about how to do that. Like, should they be like a gleaming CG festival? Should it feel like the Matrix, or should it feel like something else? And ultimately, where we got in the contrast between what that world feels like and the movie world, they're very different. Couldn't be more different, but also have a sort of a similar feeling. And it was very difficult to do that stuff, because at least when you're shooting a movie, you can be like, okay, move over here, move that guy, say it differently. When you're animating, it's like just a world of possibility and a world of restrictions that can make you feel kind of helpless. But I think that I think we found a way to to crawl through that. And it was Sanando and then just two other people doing doing the work of all of the animation and all the beautiful compositing and lighting effects and all this stuff. It was just a team of three.
Awesome. It looked really great, by the way. I'm curious, what does it mean that Legion M and fans had the opportunity to participate in the Arch Enemy production? How did that work exactly?
Legion M is this cool organization where people can join that organization and put in money that helps fund a movie, and then they participate in it. And so, part of our financing came from Legion M, and then all of these people are like invested, completely invested in helping you make your movie. And so, like, for example, Max Fist at one point steals a cool old El Camino, and he's driving around this muscle car, and that came from a guy that lived nearby where we were shooting, and he was a Legion M member, and he showed up with his car, and he was like, let's go, let's put my car in the movie. And what's cool is because they sort of have this built-in group of people who are interested in your film, they're then able to do so much with it. Like, they're planning on making all of this cool artwork and maybe toys and like t-shirts and all this cool stuff that on a tiny movie like this would be hard to generate. They did that. They were part of Mandy also. And so, like, Mandy, they put out like macaroni and cheese, cheddar goblin boxes, and like all this just crazy, insane stuff, because they know like we're a company that's sort of like about how the fans who love this stuff. And so I've been really excited to see what they're going to be making. I think they're going to do something. That cat behind me is appeared in the movie, and I think they're going to be doing something graphically with that, which I'm excited to bring to life.
Well, final question. What do you hope the audience will take away from the themes of Archenemy?
Oh man, people talk to me a lot about toxic masculinity. I think so far a lot of my stories have had to do with like men being broken and acting in weird, violent ways. And I think with Archenemy, I'm thinking about like, let's stop talking about toxic masculinity. Let's start talking about cosmic masculinity. Let's figure out like how do you sort of embody like a more let's get beyond there's a whole theme in Archenemy that has to do with he's just punching and punching and punching, but like ultimately that's needs to do something bigger and more grand and more sort of post ego.
All right. For my fans at home, go check out Archenemy in theaters and on demand and on digital December 11th. Adam, thank you for talking to me and congratulations.
Thanks, man. This was great. I really appreciate it.